this game ends up going the distance here, simply because... Welcome to Secret Spring and Game 2 of the Hot Seat Week 3 Best of 9. I'm JoRoSaR, and over here in the 2 o'clock position as the blue Protoss player representing TeamLiquid.net. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mana. His opponent playing as the yellow Zerg representing my Insanity from Switzerland. Of course, natively, this guy is from New Zealand, currently playing from Europe, and having tremendous success so far at the hot seat. Currently 1-0 up. Can he keep the momentum going? He is Petraeus. Alrighty then, so Secret Spring, another 2-player map where irrigation seems to only be available in the middle. Everything else seems to be somewhat arid desert. Could have picked a better location for that, mate. Really over here seems to be where you want to be. But hey, who am I to decide? The real estate's obviously cheaper on the fringes as we move into game number 2. So it looks like another gateway expansion should be coming our way, courtesy of Mana. And in the meantime, over in Petraeus' half of the world, we can see the spawning pool has actually gone down first prior to the hatchery. This probe is being incredibly annoying. Stopping Petraeus from putting down his second hatch until he accidentally strays a little bit too far away and Petraeus manages to sneak it down. Well played there, and Mana will concede that position with the probe. He has, of course, delayed it by a number of seconds and forced Petraeus to go spawning pool first, but at this stage of the game, it isn't really any massive upset. Ooh, very nice. He actually spots a cybernetics core as well out here from Petraeus. I believe in the previous game, Mana actually put the expansion down first, but instead he's going to be putting this down now. Don't forget, of course, that this is a little bit safer, at least in the early game, because it's an in-base contained natural expansion here. So by ground, there is no way into that natural except through the main base. And that is going to make Mana feel relatively safe indeed. In the meantime, not an awful lot is happening, but we have got, once again, the single extractor out from Petraeus. So we'll keep an eye on whether he chooses to continue mining gas from his main base after he reaches 100, or if he's going to do what he did last game, get to 100, research that Zergling speed, but immediately pull the drones out of this extractor and go ahead and transfer them to natural. That is, in fact, what he does. There we go. Exactly 100. The spawning pool has started. Metabolic boost. And we are once again going to be focusing on that mineral line. So, Petraeus looking, though, he wants to just potentially maximize his opportunity to get a third base. The third, a little bit trickier to take on this map, guys, because if you take a look at this, you're moving down to this ramp, and then you have to go all the way up here to take this third. Or you go all the way down here to take this third. Either way, it's not the most welcome sight in the world. It's a little bit difficult, really, for our Zerg hero to have much of an impact as far as the third base is concerned. So he needs to be a little careful here and very mindful of potential earlier plays. In the meantime, we have a forward pilot already coming down from Mana here. Very close to the ramp inside the natural expansion, pardon me, the main base even, because this is, at the end of the day, Secret Spring. And he's moving out with the mothership core as well. What has he got behind this? Well, only the one gateway over here, but he's got 2 more as part of the wall, and warp gate research is about to complete as well. So it's 3 gate pressure over here, and these 2 lings have managed to spot pretty much everything that's going on here, and he will know that we should be expecting some pressure, but this isn't anywhere close to an all-in or something like that. These lings moving out of the main base now actually will just walk straight past this army from Mana, so potentially doing some counterattack damage once again is Petraeus in this game. And this Zealot and Sentry combined should be able to stop him from doing very much at all. The Mothership Core harassing, but we've got a couple of Queens here to defend this. Pulling back those Lings so that the Zealot doesn't actually kill too many of them. Currently that Zealot's actually on 0 kills, but the Sentry's on 4. So doing a pretty good job there. One queen does get trapped on the low ground right now by the looks of things. A really nice force field coming out of there by Mana. And just like in the last game, we have a recall after early game pressure here. Now the difference is, this really is just early game pressure. Whereas in the last game, even though it was still the early game, it was an Immortal Sentry push that basically ended up meaning Mana was quite far behind and unfortunately ended up losing the game off the back of that. This time, he's recalled back much early in the process. He hasn't done an all-in or anything similar. And he's just slowly trying to macro up, get his army size. You can take a look. The difference between the two players right now is only 10 supply. And, well, Petraeus is now going to move out with a couple of roaches. I'm not really sure he wants to move into the main base of Mana, though. I get the feeling that Mana would end up repelling him. This third base location is now being taken by Petraeus. And remember what we were saying before about how far the creep has to spread from the natural expansion to the third base. This is why this Overlord is here, because this sort of third base position opens up possible exploitation, for example, from pylons over here or something like that. And it's really frustrating when no creep is involved to have to deal with all of that. These roaches are trying to pick off the rock tower. They won't be able to do so. And it looks like they're going to die in their service to the Zergling brood. A couple of these Zerglings, unfortunately, are going to die as well, because they are trapped between the Protoss army and a hard place. And that's going to delay Mana's push just a little bit here. We have 3 Spore Crawlers going up as well from Petraeus, so being very careful with his play. If we take a look at what Petraeus sees, we can see he does spot the Stargate, so fair play to him there. And we actually have the Oracle getting exactly 0 kills. There is a Queen and a Spore Crawler already down here in the southern location, so it could end up being quite frustrating for our Protoss here. But keeping the Oracle alive to fight another day, you never know. You could just be in a fight where the Oracle absolutely decimates hundreds and hundreds of Zerglings or completely destroys a mineral line would be the ideal scenario. But these Spore Crawlers are going to try and put an end to that before it begins. That, of course, is now complete. +1's about to finish for the Protoss, so we'll keep an eye on how quickly he wants to be attacking that. It looks like it's actually Petraeus who's taking down the rocks that he put up in the first place, interestingly enough, to possibly get to the pile that's behind it. This Oracle is still on 0 kills, ladies and gents. It did a little bit of a circuit of the main base here where the layer was, wasn't able to find anything, and actually with the downing of that pylon in the middle of the map, Mana is currently supply capped at 90 out of 84. He might be in a little bit of trouble here as Petraeus continues to shoot up his supply. He's going up to 120 now, and Mana needs to think about securing his third base. This Overlord was killed, but then as soon as it was killed, Petraeus thoughtfully burrowed a Zergling here. And Mana right now, I mean, he's looking like he's being a little bit outplayed because once again, he's getting stuck onto 2 bases. Now, the lead for Petraeus is nowhere close to the lead he had in game number 1 after a similar sort of push was repelled. But here comes Petraeus once again, sees the army moving out, comes in through the back door with these roaches. He's going to be able to get in as well, and a bunch of these guys will no doubt go into the main base. A couple of them will go into the natural mineral line, and it becomes a frustrating job for Protoss to actually have to defend against all of this now. Photon overcharge at the natural expansion. We have Burrow here with these roaches here. They're going to be able to take apart as many of these workers as possible. Luckily, the Oracle and the Revelation is going to allow the army to kill off these roaches, but look at what's happening inside the main base. Oh, actually, pretty good damage control here from Mana, splitting his forces effectively. Let's take a look at what the number of workers killed is. It's only 5, guys. And considering the number of roaches that he committed to this attack, that's actually pretty good defense, I have to say, from Mana's point of view. He's held that quite well. He's at about 120 supply versus 140 right now. And the worker count, despite Petraeus now taking a 4th base, is even. He's on 57 to the 58 of the Protoss. So at the moment, as things stand, Mana is doing a great job. Let's see if he can follow it up with some effective aggression, though, so he can tie up this series 1-all. That's going to be the major key. And, wow, well, you know, blinking forward to kill off that one roach might as well, I guess. It doesn't cost you any mana. And the Spore Crawler, wow, moving out very, very far into the middle of no man's land on creep. I understand the concept to try and possibly pick off the Oracle, But the army's just not going to get there, or is it? Oh my goodness, the Mothership Core! No, not the Mothership Core! I can't believe that's already paying dividends. He just about gets out of there on time. Wow, that could have been a massive blunder from Mana. He's actually supply blocked at the moment. This army needs to do well. Great force fields, but we've got burrow and burrow movement coming out from Petraeus. He is giving chase with these roaches. Another fantastic round of force fields, and we don't have a re-burrow here. There we go. There's the second burrow. And Petraeus is chasing Mana all the way back to the right-hand side of this map. Mana now on 111 supply versus 180. He's trapped by the wall. Excellent blink across to save the majority of the army. And Petraeus' roach army was just too strong here. He's got a counterattack moving into the main base as well. And there's no detection, which means 5 roaches are now just comfortably sitting inside the main base. Very frustrating situation for Mana. Able to see some of these, there we go, some of these units as they move in thanks to the observer placement. So that's going to be okay. But Mana hasn't had a successful attack all game now, and Petraeus is getting more and more aggressive. He's up to 182 supply. He's seen that Mana has the robotic facility up and running, by the way, and I believe he actually saw it an Immortal as well. So this could end up being a little bit of a problem. At the end of the day, Petraeus doesn't want Mana to get up to any sort of critical number of Immortals where this Roach army absolutely melts, so I wouldn't be surprised if he kept the aggression up here. We have a bunch of Zealots. Oh, very nice pickup in the War Prism there, and able to get away from all of these Queens as well. And that means that we might see some more harassment over here against the expansion at the third base. It doesn't look like it, though, because we have just way too many Roaches and Hydras. We're moving now into the in-base natural expansion as well, and there is a Queen on hand ready to deal with that. So we'll keep an eye on what that's going to be. Meanwhile, a Burrowed Roach will be able to sneak into the natural expansions, but everything that's going on, really nicely played there by Petraeus, so we'll be able to scout everything there. The Robotics Bay has gone down, and that's really the key scouting point. So we'll keep taking a look at this Roach. Oh, wow. Actually trying to pick apart a couple of workers, unable to do so, and Mana's actually triggered the reinforcements that are 2 Stalkers to try and deal with this Roach right now. It looks like that's going to die, but we have another major engagement here. Oh, if the rock tower gets picked off, Petraeus needs to be so careful. He does not want his army squashed to death by the rocks. Guys, we'll be keeping an eye on that moving into the later game. Let's take a look and see, as we have the War Prism and Zealots harassing once again, but this time in the natural expansion. Let's see what Petraeus sees. So he hasn't spotted, by the way, the Robotics Bay, guys, which means these Colossi are, at least for now, going to come as a surprise to the Zerg player. Very, very important to note that at this point. We now have a counterattack from Petraeus over in the top, and for once it's him that's supply blocked as a couple of Overlords get picked out in the middle of the map. Mana, though, he's getting a stronger and stronger army supply right now. He's up to 155 overall. The number of probes is still at 55, but he's now starting to saturate the third base location, and sticking a couple more there is going to benefit him quite a lot. The army supply is about 40 less, but the quality of the army is really fantastic from our Protoss player right now. Both players have +2, but these Stalkers and Immortals do so much damage to the Roaches. Let's see what's going to happen in this particular engagement. Trying to get a good concave is Petraeus. An excellent revelation, seeing the position of all of the units there from Mana. Is it going to be enough? Excellent force fields as well, and slowly whittling the army down, but a couple of rogue Roaches that are the hit squad managed to pick off the Colossus, and that's a pretty big deal for the Zerg army right now. Petraeus, yes, his opponent knows exactly where it is. No, he does not care right now. He is forcing Mana home. All but one of the Immortals are now dead, and the remaining Immortal as well is not going to be having the most fun time. Good force field to block the units coming up the ramp, and once again, this attack is going to get repelled, but not before a couple of Lings continue to nibble away at the third and say, guess what, mate? You can have 2 bases as long as you want, but you're not actually getting 3. In the meantime, while we were talking through all that, by the way, another Zealot Warp-in has taken off the third base from the map, and tried to threaten the fourth as well, but we have a Mutalisk switch coming in from Petraeus, and that is going to trigger. This is basically why Mana's being so defensive right now. With those Roaches, with those Hydras, at least Mana knew, moving it across the map, it's not that quick for him to move back, but now with the Mutalisk switch, Mana has to be careful, especially about harassment from the Mutas. The speed at which these things move across the map, I mean, it's just huge, and that's why you need Blink to deal with them. An excellent Blink back and really good early defense from Mana, who's now at 109 supply versus 186, but his economy is holding. He needs to make sure he keeps a hold of this third base, and all those workers just running into the main base is not a good sign to start things off. The rest of the army is coming in now. Needs to be careful with that one Colossus. It looks like it could just be buffet time for the Zerg player if that Colossus ends up making it up there. Okay, he does change his mind as Mana, but he's now stuck once again on 2 bases. He needs to think of something to do, and he needs to think of something to do fast. He just doesn't really have an answer right now to the mutas, does he? We've got +1 attack as well. That'll help with the glaive upgrade, and the Blinkstalkers are trying their best to bat the mutas away, but with Blink, for example, they could potentially get up here again, and Mana just has to play defensively, which is fine if he was on 3 bases, but he's on 2. So once again, we're seeing a repeat of a story in Game 1, where Petraeus simply has the resources to do what he wants, and Mana does not right now. A lot of these probes are now long distance mining. I like that decision. Before the Nexus goes up, you might as well set them to work doing something. And the army for Mana is staying around his new base as well, to make sure it can be adequately defended against any sort of incoming attack from our yellow Zerg. And we have a potential engagement here. Oh my god, that's a lot of Mutalisks. Wow, Petraeus is just saying, look guys, I'm just absolutely going to take this. He's right-clicked the Colossus. It's going to fall very... Ooh, he just about lets it live, actually. And the Hydralisks, combined with these Mutas, are doing an incredible job of forcing Mana back. And I think without this third base, he won't be able to hold on to the game. GG is called. And indeed, My Insanity's Petraeus, ladies and gentlemen, takes game number 2 and moves into a 2-0 lead in this best of 9. A commanding start from our incumbent King of the Hill.